Hi there and welcome to a quick revision talk through media history, and this time looking at Edexcel iGCSE topic on America, 1918-1941. I'm going to look at part 2 of the specification now, some of the problems in the 1920s, and in particular we're going to look at organised crime and prohibition and some of those problems there as well. So watch this video through a few times to revise your knowledge. You can also look at more videos where I'm talking through knowledge and also exam questions, how I choose you through those. Have a look at those in my playlist. You can also get hold of that altogether, one neat little package in my revision guide also. Now, let's go and revise. Okay, let's start with prohibition then. So this was the ban on the production and sale of alcohol in America from 1920 to 1933. So the law was the 18th Amendment and was supported by the Volstead Act that banned drinks with more than 0.5% of alcohol. What were some of the causes of prohibition then? So firstly, we could think about female campaign groups. So in the 1800s, groups like the Women's Christian Temperance Union formed against the drinking of men. Women were worried about the abuse and poor behaviour of men and husbands due to alcohol. This was part of a theme of women's rights. Also, we got religious causes. Protestants set up groups like the Anti-Saloon League in the early 1900s. This campaigned against alcohol as a cause of fighting poverty, addiction, debt and adultery. So again, looking at those social problems around alcohol. Federal changes. So early 1900s, many states had brought in laws restricting alcohol due to poor behaviour in the cities. So by 1916, 21 states had already banned saloon bars anyway. So the Volstead Act and prohibition was merely extending some of the local federal laws. The war. In 1917, it was argued that drunken people were unfit to fight. After the Russian Revolution, the Anti-Saloon League suggested that drunkenness was a communist behaviour, so this links in with things like the Red Scare, immigration of different groups into America, trying to improve society, particularly from immigrant behaviour. What were some of the key events of prohibition? Well, there were government actions, of course. The government banned all alcohol. They set up prohibition agents to enforce the law. Initially, 1,500 were employed, but this increased to 3,000 by 1930. Let's delve into that law enforcement in a bit more detail. So during the 1930s, famous agents like Mo Smith and Isidore Einstein made over 4,000 arrests. In total, around about 150,000 arrests, and over 22 million gallons of alcohol were seized and disposed of. Of course, opposition started to develop over time. Alcohol consumption had only dropped 30%. Generally, most people broke the prohibition laws. So by 1933, the Association Against the Prohibition Amendment had prohibition ended. It argued that it had created corruption, a culture of law-breaking and disrespect for law and order. Of course, if the vast majority of people are breaking the law, then people don't respect law and order. It was also argued it was impossible to enforce in terms of why it failed. The USA had 18,600 miles of border, and it was impossible for 3,000 agents to patrol this. Therefore, alcohol continued to illegally come into the country. 2/3 of the alcohol came from Canada. Another reason for failure, of course, was the demand for alcohol. People still wanted to drink. Speakeasies appeared across America. In fact, by 1925, America had more speakeasies than it had legal bars in 1919. Alcohol was so freely available, it took agent Mo Smith only 35 seconds to be offered alcohol in a visit to New Orleans. Another problem of prohibition, and of course its failure, was the rise of crime, particularly gangsters. Demand for alcohol helped gangsters gain huge amounts of money. They set up speakeasies and they had bootleggers to smuggle the alcohol into America. This led to organised crime and gangsters like Al Capone. Al Capone earned £10 million a year from providing illegal alcohol during Prohibition. Of course, bribes and corruption became abundant due to this as well. Organised crime and brewing companies would bribe politicians and prohibition agents to protect their alcohol industries and make these agents, as it were, look the other way. Of course, all this money making made organised crime more powerful. So organised crime became big business. Gangs made more than $2 billion from prohibition bootlegging and speakeasies. George Remus, a bootlegger, used his wealth to host lavish parties, giving his guests diamonds and even cars as well. Gangs made money from bootlegging, speakeasies, prostitution and even what's called racketeering, where they charged companies for protection. So organised crime really was becoming big business. With all this organised crime, we start to get gangland violence as well. Gangs were often associated with poor immigrant communities. The Italians, Polish, Irish and Jews were all migrants that battled with each other for control of illegal activities. Violence increased with gangland murders. In Chicago in 1926-7, there were 130 murders. Let's look at Al Capone in a little bit more detail, as he's obviously the most famous gangland leader. Al Capone was born in New York. He was the son of an Italian immigrant family. He'd failed at school and was excluded from school even. He had many odd jobs before joining the Five Pointers gang. After being involved in murder, he fled to Chicago. In Chicago, Capone got a job running a bar at Speakeasy for a local gangster called Terrible Johnny Torrio. He was very successful, so was promoted to second in charge of his gang after a time. Torrio and Capone made a fortune in Chicago. They were able to bribe the police and local officials so they could set up a successful gangster business. They soon gained huge wealth from protection rackets, fixing gambling, running speakeasies and prostitution. In 1925, Torrio retired after many attempts on his life, so Capone took over. He quickly developed his gang. In 1927, he had 700 employees. Capone took control of the Chicago gangland. 227 other gang members and leaders were killed. In 1929, he led the St. Valentine's Day massacre of his rivals. This included the murder of Bugs Moran. Capone earned $2 million a week from his illegal activities. In many ways, he was a celebrity. People would applaud him when he took his seat at baseball matches. He won people over with his generous tips and charity work. He spent $30,000 on a soup kitchen for the unemployed during the Great Depression. Capone was arrested many times, but he bribed witnesses and juries, so no crimes ever stuck. In 1930, the FBI was determined to arrest Capone. In 1931, they managed to arrest and jail Capone for tax evasion, and he served 11 years in prison. On Capone's release from prison, he was an ill man and retired from a life of crime. Okay, well, I hope you found it useful, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and have a look through more of my videos and maybe take a look at my revision guide. Well, bye-bye for now.